Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's another vlog. I do not really have a theme for this one. It is, again, the in-between of like 2 months. It is the end of April, beginning of May this week, so it is now April 28th. Yes, Monday, April 28th. And I'm currently reading Heartless Sky, which is the 7th book in the Zodiac Academy series. I read a little bit of it last night, about 100 pages last night, and then I've just continued it throughout the day today. I'm about 220 pages in, I think, on my Kindle, so that's an approximation. It's a very long book. It is almost 1,000 pages on the Kindle last I checked, so it could take me a few days to get through it, just depending on like how tired I get when I go to read at night and if I get time to read before work and at lunch. So that being said, that is what I'm reading right now. I'll go into it in a minute. I do not know where the rest of this vlog is going to go book-wise, because depending on when I finish that will probably drive the next book. I can give you some ideas, but it's probably gonna be mood reading. I'm gonna look at my TBR for May and pick a few off of there that I don't have thoughts in my mind for other vlogs, and then we can discuss those really quickly, and then I'll just kind of pick from those during the week. Okay, so after looking at what I want to read for the month, the 3 books that I have are actually not ones directly off of my selected TBR for the month. Those were all books from my book box subscriptions. And I have 3 other books that I want to get to that were not selected that are on my spring TBR that I do want to finish this month. And that is The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda. That is just a thriller. I'm not exactly sure what it's about. Most of hers are like small town, somebody goes missing or something happened and somebody comes back to the town and all this stuff starts to unravel. So I'm gonna assume that's pretty similar to what this is going to be. This is the one about this trail in the Appalachian. I've like heard it pronounced different ways. I should know. I live close to that. But anyway, so this is the one about this town called Cutter's Pass that has this trail that tourists are drawn to because it's known as the vanishing trail where people go missing. And this journalist comes to investigate the story, disappears, and then the town thrust back into the spotlight. And then his brother comes into town to check it out to see if he can figure out what happened. And Abby, who's our main character, helps him. And usually there's like a subplot of romance in her book, so I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a subplot between them. It's never like a main point of it, but there's always kind of like feelings and stuff, so I'm assuming that's probably going to happen. This is the last one I have to read by her, I think, before I've read her backlist. She has another book coming out this year. I cannot remember what it is, but she does have another one. Then I have Catch Me by Alexia Chase. This is one of the final books I have left over from my romance reveal box. I have a few more, but they were summary, so they're probably going to be making an appearance on my summer TBR, just so that I can get them off my physical TBR. This one, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it because I believe it's best friend's father, but I think it'll be an easy read. Most romances out of that box have been like relatively quick reads for me, but it is about this girl named London, and the father kicks her out of a party in his honor. But she like, I don't know, she has daddy problems, I think, because she's like, except it matters because I've wanted his approval for as long as I can remember, but never got it. So he's like rich, his world is champagne and limousines, and her life is living out of black trash bags and crashing on sofas. So she can't get over him, and she wants him to chase her. So then like, he's like, my daughter's best friend is sin incarnate, and he wants her as badly as his next breath, but he can't have her because she'd never be interested in somebody at his age, even with $1 billion in the bank. So it's like billionaire, male, main character, but also like best friend's dad. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that one. We'll see. That was like one of the reasons I canceled that box, because I was never a trope that I said I was interested in, and they kept sending me ones further and further out of my comfort zone, and that was kind of the last straw. I think that might have been the last book I got. So there were some books in there that I did enjoy, but just like it started to get too far away from the books that I enjoy reading, so I just cut that one out. And then I have Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, which is a hockey romance. I think this is people have compared it to like Binding 13. So I think it's an emotional romance. And I did just buy Unloved. That was one of the books I picked up on vacation. So I have the next one in the series, which is much thicker. It is massive. I just saw it in person when I bought it. So it would be nice to read this because then June is my month of continuing series that I've started. So it would be nice to get this one. I'm going to read this anyway because it's on my spring TBR, and May's the last month I can read spring books, but read spring books. So this is an option. And then I got my first package from a publisher today, like my first physical ARC from a publisher today, and I might read that because it sounds really interesting, and it does come out in May, so I'd like to read it before it comes out. And it's Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride by Will Leitch. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it's about this guy who is a cop and learns he has months to live, but that if he dies in the line of duty, his son's going to get more money when you know, that happens. So he's like, I'm gonna die anyway, might as well have my son get the police benefits if I die in the line of duty. He keeps putting himself into like life-threatening situations and keeps not dying. So he becomes like an inspirational icon because of what's happening, and the community kind of starts to follow him because he's accidentally getting involved in all these things and then not dying. So I think it's more of like a character study. This twisty and funny and ultimately uplifting novel follows a father in a race against time to provide for his child. So it sounded interesting. When they kind of asked me like what books I'd be interested in, if like they gave me a list and were like, what books are you interested, like, are interesting to you? And this was one of the ones I picked. So I have been reading more books like this. I feel like this is something that could be like along the lines of like A Man Called Ove and Britt Marie Was Here by like Frederick Bachman. It's like a character study on a guy that's just like trying to do the best he can in the situations he's in. So this might also be an option. We'll see. I do want to read that this month though, so I will try to read that in May as well, but hopefully early May. So those are the options that I could read after Heartless Sky, which is again the 7th book in the Zodiac Academy. And I can't talk too much about the actual part of the plot, but I think that this one is going to be a rough one. I've said that about all of these, but we learn something at the end of the first book that is going to drive the plot for this one, and we know as readers, and one character knows this secret, but nobody else does, and it's going to be a huge issue when it comes to fruition, I know, because it's a big one. So we'll see. Everything is kind of up in arms right now because of where they are in the world, like where Solaria is with like the rulers and all of that and what they're trying to do, and with like the whole darkness and the people that are bad and all of that. I really can't talk too much about the plot because I've had so much of Zodiac Academy spoiled for me that I'm trying not to be too specific. So that's where we are. It's definitely more into the emotional depths and the romances now because we are so close to the end of the series that those relationships have kind of been established. We're still dealing with rough patches, but you kind of know who's going to end up with who at this point, is all I'll say. So enjoying it. It's always an emotional roller coaster reading these books, but they're ones that I enjoy. So gonna finish that one up, and then we'll pick whatever I'm in the mood for. I mean, all of these are relatively different books. We have a thriller, kind of like a lit fic, I'd call it, a normal romance, and then probably like a darker romance, a more forbidden romance. So options. So I will pick one when we get there, but the next time you see me, I will have another update on Heartless Sky. And again, I will probably be reading that for a few days, so I'm not sure how many updates I'll give in the meantime because I can't talk too much about it, but that is all for now. I will talk to you guys when I next see you. Okay, everyone, it is like 2 days later. It is Wednesday, midday. It's like lunchtime, and I'm home because we do not have power at work. I didn't have power at home for like 15 hours, so I did go in this morning, but then I got a notification that my power's back, so I brought my laptop home. So just gonna do a quick update because I'm on lunch and I haven't done one because yesterday I didn't have power when I got home, but still reading Heartless Sky. It's taking me a long time to get through. It is a very long book, and quite honestly, I'm not enjoying it as much as the one I just finished. Yeah, Fated Throne. I'm not enjoying it as much as I was that one, which was a 5-star. I don't see this one being a 5-star just because there's a lot of slow points in this plot and it's dragging a little bit for me, which is I also think why it's taking me a little bit longer to get through. So still loving, I still love the characters. I'm still loving the storyline, and I think I'm also like not looking forward to how I'm pretty sure this book ends based on what we know about something that happened in the last book. I'm not looking forward to getting to that point and then having to wait a little bit to read the next 2 books because I don't want to go immediately into those because that's like 1,200 pages or something for me to read. That is like 16, almost 1,700 pages because they say to tandem read 8 and 8.5. That's like 1,700 pages. So I'm not looking forward. That's gonna be a whole week of reading for me. So I don't want to go immediately into that, especially after how much this one's kind of dragging for me. So I don't want to get... I am just like rambling now, but I don't want to get to the end because I know it's going to be a little bit of time before I go to the next one, and I know that this is going to like rip me apart at the end because I know what's going to happen. So that's also making me not want to move through it too fast, but I'm hoping to get done with it today. I should be able to, unless I just like get done with work and want to go to bed. I don't know, but that is the plan. I don't like it when it takes me this long to get through books, but with a 1,000-page book, it's just gonna, is how it is. I like to move through stories. That's what keeps my mind more active and me more involved in the stories, is when I'm constantly reading new things. So I will update when I'm done with this. I do not know what I'm gonna go into next. I have a thought, but I don't know. It's really gonna depend on how I feel when I finish this one, which direction I want to go. So we'll touch base then. Okay, so I have finally finished Heartless Sky. That has taken forever. I definitely think my rating's gonna drop from the last one, which is surprising. Like, I'd been steadily increasing my ratings, and then this one I think is going to drop just because I think there was a little bit too much filler in this one for me. The story was very long. It was almost 1,000 pages, and I don't think it needed to be. The final 20% of the book was where, like, I think most of the stuff happened. The action, like the story plot moving forward, like the plot and everything, and you just, like, everything coming together, all of that happened, like, real quick. And I think that there was probably 20% of the middle of the book that just could have been a little bit shorter. And I might have got through this book a little bit quicker because it was dragging for me at times. The pacing was just kind of all over the place. But I still enjoyed it. I still loved these characters, loved this story, loved this world. Did the ending of that book suck? Yes. Do I think it would have sucked more if I didn't kind of know it was coming because people spoiled it for me? Yes. I think I would be sobbing right now, but I knew what was coming, and because of that, I'm hopeful that it gets better because we have 2.5 more books to get through because I have 8, 8.5, and 9 to get through, and I do believe that it ends on a better note than this book just did. I'm hoping it does, so it was just a whole bunch of tragedy in the last 50 pages of the book. So it has to get better, right? I don't know. I'm excited to read the next 2 books, but I definitely think I need like at least 2 weeks of a break between that just because they were so long. And I want time to like sit with this one a little bit before I move on to the next one, and I want to savor it. I'm down to the last 2 months of reading the Zodiac Academy for the first time, so I do want to slow it down a little bit. Okay, so the next book, I'm between 2. I'm between The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda and Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride by Will Leitch. And I think that this is the one I want to go with after finishing that. First of all, this is under 300 pages, so this will be like a quick win, I think, for me. And then I need something a little less dark. Like, this is supposed to be like emotional, but like I think there's going to be humor and everything in it as well. So I think this is the better choice to start with for now. And then maybe I'll go to this next. I don't know. We'll see how I feel when I finish this book. But I think I talked a little bit about the premise of this book, but it really is about this guy that is a cop and learns he has just months to live, but he's learned that his 20 years as a cop means that he hasn't really like obtained that much money. However, if he dies in the line of duty, his police benefits will increase drastically. So he comes up with a plan to throw himself into life-threatening situations one after another to get himself killed and to provide for his son, but keeps failing. So I think it's gonna be heartwarming, and I think it will be sad because literally it says like he just learns he has months to live. Do I think it's gonna have a happy ending? No. Am I hoping that it's kind of heartwarming and humorous throughout? Yes. So gonna start this, and I'll update you guys when I'm moving forward through that. Literally, Heartless Sky took me so long to get through that I actually, today's May. Today's May 1st, and I wanted to finish it in April, and I didn't. And that is the first time this year that I have not finished a book in the month that I wanted to finish it in by my like plan that I put out. So that is how long that book took me to get through. Like, I just could not push myself through it fast enough to get through the end of the month because I just couldn't do it. It is what it is. So we're into a new reading month. And yeah, I'm excited to see if I enjoy this book. It comes out at the end of May, so I do want to read it so that I can put a review on Goodreads and Amazon or wherever it's going to be sold. All right, so I'll come back tomorrow with some thoughts on that book, and we'll see where we are with that. Happy Friday, everyone. So I am just over halfway through Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride. This has been such a quick read, but it's funny, but it's also deep. So we're dealing with grief in this, but in a unique way, because it's like Lloyd talking about his upcoming death, like his impending death, and he's trying to make light of it, and he's trying to do right by his son, but because of, you know, him coming to terms with his morality and everything, it is still deep, but we're seeing it like from the perspective of someone that knows they're gonna die, not from the perspective of those that are losing somebody. So that is like a very different way of looking at it. So it has been like very emotionally deep to get through. Like, have I been crying? No, but it's definitely made me, like, I've had to pause because, like, he really gets into, like, our mortality and what that means and what we don't think about, because he is telling stories, like, from his life as well within this. And it's, like, really interesting that he's doing these, the 10 gentle edicts of Lloyd McNeill. So he's, like, doing 10 edicts throughout that are being sprinkled in that are basically letters to his son, and giving him advice and stuff based on his life experiences. So I'm really enjoying this. Is it going to be a 5-star read? No, but you know what? Not every book can be. And this is one of those ones that I feel like I'm finding myself being more drawn to, because they're books that really make me think about life and think about decisions I've made and help drive me towards making maybe different decisions in my life in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm also, like, in my sad book era. I read Firefly Lane not that long ago, and then My Friends, and then I just finished Heartless Sky. If you've read it, you know you know. And now I'm reading this. So am I gonna cry by the end of this? It's possible, but it's just been, like, it's been emotional in a very interesting way, because it's been more like me taking a step back every once in a while when something is said and being like, wow, that was deep, that was a lot to think about. I'm not a person that likes to think about that kind of stuff because it makes me very anxious, as I'm sure it does for most people, but I try to avoid thinking too deeply about life. So I am enjoying this a lot. But I just had to say something because speaking of dying, I just got 3 books in the mail today, and they were all pre-orders. And one of them was Jeremy Renner, who I freaking adore, his new memoir. And I assume it's about his accident that he had. And hey, he died, and I'm pretty sure he died. And, like, they didn't think, you know, he was going to recover from it even when they managed to, like, revive him or whatever. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he, like, they thought he was dead. So I just think it's hilarious because I pulled this out of the box and I was literally like, he died. If not actually, like, basically was almost paralyzed, run over by this piece of equipment. No one ever thought he'd walk again. And he's, like, back better than ever. He's, like, a real life superhero. And, like, he's like, no, this is all I had to say about it. It's, like, not even 200 pages, or it's just over 200 pages. And I'm like, bro, I think that makes me love him more, that he's just like, I'm going to be very concise about what I have to say. So I'm very excited to read that. I think it's funny that this is, like, this big, and then Anna Wong's like, let me tell you about this fictional couple, and it's, like, twice the size. But whatever. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading that, but that one might have to, I can't keep reading books about death. So I'm going to continue reading this, and I'll come back when I'm done. I only have, like, 100 pages left, and it's been very easy to read because the chapters, like, are so short. Like, that's a chapter. I love me a short chapter. So I'll be back when I'm done with this, and we'll move on to book 3 for the vlog. Okay, so I just finished Lloyd McNeill's Last Ride, and I really did end up enjoying this more than I think I thought I was going to, just because the premise was good, but at the same time I was like, this could go drastically one way or another if it's not done right. So I did enjoy this. It was, again, very difficult to get through at times just because the author really just dug in there on things that I don't like to think about. And I don't know, like, there were just some chapters that were a little bit more difficult for me to get through just because of the content, just emotionally, not necessarily that it was, like, bad writing or anything. I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit here and critique somebody's writing because I am not an English major. I am not a writer. If I enjoy the book, I enjoy the book. So this was definitely a different type of a read for me. But like I said in the previous clip, something that I think I'm drifting more towards lately is, like, fiction, and just, like, I want to feel things when I read. Not all the time. Sometimes I just want to, like, be immersed in a fantasy world and not think about things, or just read a really fluffy, lighthearted romance. That is something that, yeah, I'm always going to want to do. But I am finding that I want to read more and more fiction, things that make me think about life and make me think about things that maybe I don't always want to think about, but I should. So that's more like along with this book would be. So I did enjoy this. I'm very grateful to the publisher for sending me that. Now, originally, I was pretty sure I was going to go into this book next, but because this is a thriller, and I know it'll be a little more darker themed, I think I'm going to go with Catch Me first. This is a billionaire best friend's dad romance. That's really all I know about it. And I've talked about this a few times. Not a book I would have bought for myself. This came in a book box subscription, and this actually was the book that made me cancel that book box subscription, just because they kept sending me books that were more and more outside of the like guidelines that I put in, and said that those are the books I wanted. So we'll see if I can get through this. I don't know that it's going to be for me, but I'm gonna give it a shot. It has to be significantly out of my comfort zone, or just I'm really not enjoying a book for me to DNF it. I don't DNF books very often. I've only DNF'd one book this year, and I've read like 80 some books. So it's not something that I like to do. If I spent money on a book, I want to read it. I'm gonna give this one a go. Will I keep this book after I'm done reading it? Probably not. Even if I do, for some reason, really end up enjoying it. I do not like book covers with people on the front. We'll see though if I can read it. All I know, again, is that if the tagline says, can an older man find love with his daughter's best friend? And I think like he tries to push her away, and she's like obsessed with him and is always looking for his approval, and he is a billionaire and she comes from, I think, lesser circumstances, and they just like can't keep away from each other. That's all I know. So I will update you guys tomorrow, because it is late on Friday night when I'm gonna start this tonight, but I'm probably not gonna get very far. But with where I've gotten this and what my thoughts are at that point in time. Okay. So I just got about 70% of the way through, it's about noon on Saturday, and I'm 70% of the way through this book, and I almost forgot to update because I was just like flying through it, but I needed to take a break and do some editing and stuff, so I figured now would be a good time to take a break and talk to you as well. So it's not like my favorite book by any means, but it is a very quick read. The pages are not very, like, they don't got a lot of words on them. I'm reading it on my Kindle too. Like, I was just like laying in bed using my Kindle stand to read, and it's just, I'm flying through it. So that's why I'm like, you know what, I'll just finish it. It's not going to take me that long. The relationship is cringy, which I knew it was going to be. I knew going into this I was going to feel a little weird about it. It was fine at the beginning, and then the circumstances to which they first hooked up was very weird. And then where I'm at in the book now, it just went from like 0 to 1,000 with their relationship. So I don't think that I would say that it like formed in a very like normal trajectory. It was just kind of like, I hate you, I can't stand being around you, but I'm secretly attracted to you, to I love you, I never want to be with somebody else. Very quickly. So that is where we are with that. So I'm gonna finish that out and do some editing, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about the next book that I'm gonna read. All right, I finished this. Didn't love it. When I said it went from like 0 to 1,000, it was just straight spice from there on out. Like, I just didn't feel an emotional connection with these two characters, and I don't even think it was the age gap, because like, trust me, there are celebrities that I would not even balk at that have the same age gap I do with this guy and the main character, London, and what was his name? Callan. So I don't know if the difference is like she's 20 and I'm 34, so it's not as weird to me, or if it's this was her best friend's dad and he's known her entire life. Not that like there was never implied that there was any attraction before she was of legal age. Like, it was even like after she was of legal age before he even says that he like started to notice her differently. So it was not like pedophilic at all. I don't even think that's a word. There was no like implication of like pedophile or anything like at all. So it wasn't that. It was just like he's just known her for so long, and it's so many different stages of her life, and her best friend is his daughter. I don't know. It was just, that was, I think, the weirdest part. And just like the way that it just took a completely physical jump at the end, and I don't know. And it had some Credence vibes at the end. I'll leave you with that. But I did feel more connection with the characters in Credence than I did in this one, so I'll just say that. The next book I'm going to read is The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda. I've been wanting to read this. I only have this and Such a Quiet Place left before I'm caught up on her backlist, and then she has a new book coming out this year. So I'm very excited to be catching up more on her books. I always enjoy them. They're a good time. I try not to rate thrillers too harshly. Like, they don't get 5 stars, like, ever. But I don't, trying not to rate them too harshly, especially ones that are authors that I continuously read from, because you start to understand like their tells and everything. but if I'm entertained, I'm gonna have a good time. So this is about a pass in North Carolina that people vanish on, people go missing on. And this guy comes to town looking for his brother that recently went missing, and he meets this girl, Abigail. She manages the inn, which is a resort nestled around this passage. So they beat, and I think he kind of recruits her to help find out what happened to his brother, something like that. Her books all have the same type of a vibe to them. I think I mentioned that earlier on, but you know what? I don't care. I like them. So, and they all take place like in North Carolina, and I love North Carolina. There was one that took place, I think, in PA too, so she hits all of my favorite places. It has been a rainy, gloomy day. I don't know that I've ever been this explicit about it, but I do live in the Pittsburgh area, and we have had a heck of a week weather-wise, and it's not stopping anytime soon. Like, the rain is not stopping. So it has been a very gloomy weekend. I do have plans tomorrow with my sister, and then Monday evening we're going to meet Christina Lauren for the book signing for the new Love and Other Words edition. So we have stuff going on, but I just hate doing things when it's like crap out. I don't like going outside when it's rainy. I ran out this morning to do some errands because I wanted to do them on the way home yesterday, but it started like downpouring and storming, and I was not taking my chances. So I came home, went out this morning, and I've been home ever since. So perfect vibes for a book like this, and I've just been enjoying my alone time and reading for the day because I have socialization to do for the next 2. So I will update you all sometime later or tomorrow morning with any updates I have on The Last to Vanish. Okay, everyone, it is Sunday morning. I gotta get ready. I have a few hours before I have to get ready to go. We're going to see a comedian today, so I'm very excited for that. But I am about 130 pages into The Last to Vanish, and I think I know what the twist is, I think. And I don't know if it's just I'm picking the thing that's obvious or I'm reading between the lines. I don't know yet. We won't know until the end, but I think I know what is happening and why. So we'll see. But it also could be that she's just trying to make me think that, and then it's going to be something completely different. I don't know. But I'm enjoying it so far. I do really enjoy Megan Miranda's thrillers. She is one of my favorite thriller authors. She has made you can't see the shelf, but the shelf of my 5 favorite thriller authors, and this one is no different. I just like her books because they're atmospheric and they just totally embody the areas that they're supposed to be taking place in, and I really love that about them. This one takes place in a mountain pass town, and it just, like, I just feel like I'm there when she describes what's going on and, like, the environment, and, like, this is in an inn, like a lodge kind of thing with cabins and everything, and they're talking about the path they're on and everything, and I can just really visualize what she's trying to describe. So I love that about her books. So I always think she has a subplot of romance in her books too, and I didn't know that this one would have it, but I think it is going to. It's never a big part of the story, but there's always like a little bit of a romance in here in her books. So I always like that too, because it helps you, I think, relate to the characters and gives you something to cheer for, as well as them trying to solve the mystery. So really enjoying this so far. This will be the last book I read in this vlog, so I don't know that I'm going to update again until I finish, because it's a thriller. I can't talk too much about it unless something big happens and I just want to explain my feelings. So I will come back at you a little bit later in the day. Okay, time to wrap up the vlog. I apologize in advance because it is storming, so if you hear thunder or something, I don't know if it'll pick up, but if you do, sorry. It's been storming for like a month now. Anyway, read 4 books in this vlog. The first one was Heartless Sky, which is the 7th book in the Zodiac Academy series. And like I said previously in the vlog, this did take a step down for me from the last book, Fated Throne, just because the plot in this was a little slow moving, a little repetitive. We've basically had the same villain for the entirety of this series, and I think that will continue to the end. So like, I think it's getting, some of the parts of that storyline are getting a little repetitive, and this felt a little dragged out. Like, I feel like the same points could have come across in a shorter amount of time. So the whole flow of that kind of made me not get through it as fast and like not want to pick it up as much as the other ones. It's still a 4.5 star for me. I still love these characters, The end of this book was really good. The last like 20% really picked up and like everything was happening at one time, and I feel like that part could have maybe been expanded upon a little more in the beginning, and the middle part a little bit less, but it still got the point across, and I still really enjoyed it, but because it dragged. That's why it went down from the 5-star that I just gave Fated Throne to 4.5 for Heartless Sky. So still enjoying the series, very excited to see how it concludes in the next few months. Then I picked up Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride by Will Leitch, and I really enjoyed this one. This was about a cop that was just given a terminal diagnosis and now has to figure out like how to deal with his mortality and what he's going to do to leave his son in the best situation that he possibly can, and figures out that if he dies on the job, the police benefits that his son will get from that are like vastly improved from what he would leave him just with like his life insurance and everything. So he tries to get himself killed on the job and hilariously can't. He just keeps surviving all of these like unprecedented events. Like usually it's very quiet in that town too, and like all these things start happening. It is like Atlanta, but like there are parts of Atlanta seem to get more action like when he makes this decision to try to get himself killed on the job. And then throughout the book he's writing these 10 edicts to his son to kind of give him some life advice and everything, and let him know like things he would change or things he's regretted, and like just try to give him some advice moving forward. So that was like a nice little way to break up the different parts of the story as well. So this did have humor in it, but it also definitely made you think more about our own mortality and like decisions we make and stuff like that. I don't really know how to describe it exactly, but it was definitely an interesting take on grief, because he was kind of grieving his own life before it ends, and that was just a very interesting, unique way, I think, to talk about that. So this was 3.5 stars. And then I read Catch Me by Alexia Chase, and this was a father of best friend romance. There was also like a 20-year age gap in this. The age gap was not what bothered me, I think. It was the best friend's father and just the way that the book was written. So he was a billionaire. She came from lesser circumstances. So he always kind of like judged her a little bit because I don't know, he made her feel like she was just friends with his daughter to like get handouts and stuff, but that wasn't the case. And he did have feelings for her, and he was just trying to push her away. That's why he was doing stuff like that. But that was also not the case of why London was friends with his daughter. So the beginning, they're like very hostile towards each other, but you get both of their points of views. Both are very openly aware of how attracted to the other they are and how like much feelings they have for each other. My issue with this book was the 0 to 1,000 that it went once they kind of decided to like make that leap, and the way that those around them reacted to it. And then there was a scene at the end that was just a little bit much for me. But I'm not going to go into that because I don't know that it's a spoiler, but I just really don't even want to talk about it. So this was a 2-star read for me. Just not my comfort zone, not something that I really like enjoyed. And I think the fact that like the plot just kind of didn't even appeal to me like when it started into their part of the book. It was just too much, too fast, and like too perfect and stuff like that. And I don't know, just not my cup of tea. If you like dark forbidden romance, you'd probably love this, but that's just not what I typically like to read. So 2 stars for this. And then I just finished The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda, and earlier in my update I said that I thought I knew what it was. I was wrong. I was kind of right, but I wasn't. So the way she like ties it up at the end, and like as you find out what really happened, she definitely makes you lean one way, and I wouldn't say that I was completely wrong, but I was maybe like 30% right with what I thought happened. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting twist at the end. Like most thrillers, the last 30 pages was a wild ride, and everything kind of came together and came out at that moment. But she tells a very compelling story, and like I just wanted to keep picking this up. Like I had like 80 pages left when I left to go to the comedian that my sister and I went to see today, and I didn't want to put the book down to leave. I had a great time. It was hilarious. I enjoyed our time out, but I just wanted to come home and finish the book. So that is what I just did, and really enjoyed this one. I don't know where I'd rank it within the books that I've read by her, but I definitely really enjoyed this one. I liked the story. It was a very well woven, interesting story, and there was just a lot. So it wasn't just like you were following one disappearance. I think the fact that there were like 4 different disappearances that you're following and trying to figure out how they're all linked and like what happened and so different all in their own way definitely kept it interesting. And there's just a lot of players and a lot of characters in this, and I think that always makes a thriller more interesting. It can make it confusing if it's not done well, but the way she wrote this, I think, was done well. So 4 stars for this one. Definitely a great, compelling read. So enjoyed it. Those are all the books for this vlog. That is the end of this one. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what books you started the month with. And that's all I have for this one. So I thank you so much if you've made it this far. I don't say this often, but like make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. Let me know if there's any books that you'd recommend based on these books that I just read. And they will be in a reading vlog. If you give me a recommendation and I read it, it'll be in a vlog. So let me know, and I thank you all so much if you made it this far in the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.